Welcome everybody to another iRacing video. If you like what you see, don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below, and if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click that notification bell as well so you don't miss any future uploads. Today, as you can see, we're back to the open wheel. Today, we are racing in the Formula 2.5, I believe? Formula Renault 2.5. My apologies. As you can see today, we are racing with the Pennzoil livery on the car, and we're back at Oulton Park. If you guys remember way back when I first started the channel, my very first video, the first race in the Mazda RX-5 Cup Series was back here at Oulton Park. A little bit of a different layout this time though. As you can see, a little bit longer of a track, which makes sense, especially when racing with such a high-speed car and such, you know, a different build of a car. When you're racing a Mazda that's a regular street car compared to an open-wheel car like a Formula Renault or any open-wheel car for that matter, you're going to want a little bit more distance on the track because you want to get up to speed. You want to be able to get the full potential out of the car. We're in qualifying here right now. We're on our first flying lap. Pretty good. It was a good time. Managed to bump us into 5th place right off the bat. It was definitely the better of the two qualifying laps. The second one, as you can see here, we're going to start off good, but then coming around into that first kind of hairpin, lock up, run real wide, it just doesn't go well. We didn't get any extra time or make up any time on the second lap, which kind of sucks, but out of, I think there was 19 or 20 or 21 racers, I qualified 5th, so I'm not going to complain too much. It was still a good start. As you can see, lock up, big lock up, run real wide. Not going to make any time up during that little sequence there. Coming down into this straight, it's a little bit tricky to judge because you come over that blind crest and you kind of have to be, I usually try to be in 7th gear by the time I cross that crest. Then you got to downshift all the way down. I usually go down to 3rd to get a little bit of extra traction and wheel spin. That way, you know, it's easier to kind of maneuver the car and get the car going where you want it to go. I have tried taking it in 4th gear. Didn't work quite as well. I was still carrying a little too much speed through that chicane. But you'll get to see it a few more times through the race, and I can kind of explain a little bit more the process kind of going through each turn, kind of how I always go about it. We take that, you know, that final big kind of turn there fairly well. I take it nice and tight, and like I said, we're going to qualify 5th, so still a pretty good result. Moving into the beginning of the race here, the race start. I get a good jump off the line. Carnage just unleashes behind us, behind that front pack. So, as you can see, cars are rolling, flipping, spinning out, crashing. I was glad to be ahead of that, so I was glad I qualified where I did. Race starts for me are usually a little bit stressful, just because I'm usually trying my best to stay clear of everyone so I don't, you know, bump or crash with anyone, because I want to start the race off well and I want to have a good race session. I don't want to be stuck in the pits for a minute and a half or 2 minutes, miss out on a couple laps, and then, you know, have to try to come from behind to make points or places. So, as you can see, one guy kind of went sliding through that corner, had a big lockup, and lost the back end. You can see the McLaren coming up behind me here. Now, if you guys remember from the flight of the McLaren, I was driving the McLaren car then. That's because that was a different series. That was the iRacing 4.0 or iRacing 04. Basically a Formula 4 series. I was racing with the McLaren livery there, but because this is a different class, this is Formula Renault, I'm going to race with a different livery here just to change it up a little bit. Coming through this last kind of, it's a long right-handed turn, and it's kind of got a, you can either kind of run it like one really long, just big apex, or I try to make a double apex out of it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, just kind of depends on where I get the car turned and actually rotated. But coming across, first lap done, I was pretty happy with how things started. Managed to maintain 5th place. Really didn't want to give it up. I had a good jump and a good gap between the cars behind me. But that can change very quickly. Now, coming in this turn, you're taking this full throttle 7th gear. So as soon as you come around that turn, you got to get yourself as far left as possible, which I always had a bit of a problem doing. I wanted to try to aim the car almost in a straight line, but when I did that, I would have to slow down so much. I'd shift down to 3rd gear coming around the hairpin, and I'd lose a lot of time trying to stay tight to the curb instead of running wide, or running wide at first going into the turn. But something I'm going to work on for sure. Through that little chicane again, coming up, but you can see there is a car ahead of me there. He's got a little bit of a gap, but I am slowly catching. In some of the trickier, like that chicane, I usually make up quite a bit of time, and coming around that big hairpin at the beginning of the race usually makes up a lot of time. This turn here, I have a lot of problem with. I have a lot of troubles trying to keep it, you know, as you can see, I locked up a little bit there. You can see the smoke from the tires, but overall, it's not a hard track to drive. It's just getting used to driving it over and over and over again, knowing exactly where your braking points are, your turning points, all that stuff. This is kind of a tricky corner too. It's a weird kind of apex because it's not a full, like it's a very, how do I describe this very well? It's a very long hairpin, really, or a wide hairpin. So when I come down into it, I'm usually going into it in 6th gear, and then I'm shifting down to 4th almost immediately to minimize a little bit of that wheel spin, try to give me a little more traction so that when I go to try to take that hard left and take the curb, I'm not going to run super wide, but I'm going to have a nice wide exit, which is what you want in an apex. Coming up to this little chicane again, you're going to see I'm going to try to downshift. I always downshift into 3rd. Lose a little bit of time trying to downshift, but if I can take those corners a little bit more, I can use a little more of those curbs, that's fine. I'm going to make up some time doing that. But you have to make sure you're doing it consistently, because if you're not doing it consistently, you're going to start losing time. There's that kind of big double apex again. Not super hard to get onto, but at the beginning it's a little tough. We're going to skip ahead a little bit, going through this little chicane again. Starting to make up some time, starting to really get a hang of it. One of the back markers spun out, so I got ahead of him, but I also have someone trailing me. You can see behind that back marker, you can just barely get a glimpse of him when we came through there. He is behind me. He is in, I believe he was in 5th. We had moved up to 4th at this point. And I was pretty excited. That guy went off. This put us up into 3rd, I believe, at this point in the race. I was pretty excited because I had never really done super well in, you know, open wheel. I had done fairly well before. I've had a 4th place finish and stuff like that. But I don't think I've actually had a podium yet in open wheel, other than back in Formula V, which was a little bit different. As you can see, he's really making up good time on us now. Really pushing. I'm going to try to get through this corner as cleanly as possible, but I lose a little bit of time. Got to pass another back marker. So things are starting to get a little dicey. It's getting a little tight. You know, I really didn't want to be in this position this early in the race. We're only on lap 5 or 6, I think, at this point. But what's going to happen is going to happen, right? It's a race. I'm not going to be perfect all the time. Like, I take that a little bit wide, so he's going to make up some time. You're not going to be perfect all through the race. If you are, you probably got a lot of assists on, maybe? I don't know. That hairpin, I had a lot of trouble later on in the race. Once I started losing a lot of grip in the tires, it made it really hard to try to get through that corner without locking up. Plus, you're starting to feel pressure from other drivers, so you want to try to take it quicker. Doesn't exactly always work out like that. Same as coming through this chicane. I managed to start really taking it nice and smoothly and cleanly. But so is the guy behind me. And he's really gaining on me at this point. There's a lot of time being made up. It can really make the difference between gaining and losing time on someone. The way you position your car into a corner, if you take it even a half an inch wider than, like as you can see here, I run right off the track, I brake a little too late, he gets ahead of me, I move back down into fourth. You know, things like that can happen. I broke too late, I started braking a little bit too late. I broke, I think, probably 20 meters too late, and I ran off the track because I couldn't get the car straight. Returned and then straightened back out. It was a really big moment that I was really quite upset about, because I was really doing good, wanted to really battle this guy, but basically just gave him a free pass. So coming down onto this straight again, as you can see, we're going to move up into 7th gear, and then we're going to take this flat out, trying to get as far left as possible, which I do. Take this real easy, but then I lock up a little bit again. I really started locking up quite a bit. Took a little bit too much of the curb, moved on to the grass, and that's going to drop a little bit of time off as well. Now we're going to cross this crest here, and you're going to see, if you look down the entrance to the chicane, caught up on the little tire wall there. One guy almost got caught up. He really took it a little too sharp, and he took it a little too fast as well. So when you try to take it fast and hard, if you have the car position right, sometimes it'll work, but the majority of the time you're going to want to take those nice and smooth, especially when you can still make up time later on in the course. Coming down into this turn again, a little bit of a lockup. Really started getting tired of that corner. I won't lie, it was probably my worst nemesis, just because I would lock up so easily on it. Same as the hairpin. And just really started losing time on them. Wasn't happy. But same, like, ran that a little bit wide. I was starting to get a little flustered, so I had to take a lap or so just to try to calm myself down, try to, regain my composure. Still wanted to try to finish well. I moved back down in places again. Kind of an up and down race, but at the same time, keep calm, and you're probably going to do better, because if you can stay calm where someone else gets flustered, you're going to have a better outcome. Because at that point, if they start making mistakes, let them make the mistakes. If you're just driving and you're doing well and you're not really making any major mistakes, and you let someone else make a mistake, that's going to give you an advantage. It might not be, a place or a position, but it may just be a few seconds that you need. We're going to skip a little bit further ahead here. I'm going to get overtaken by, I believe it was a back marker. This dude's a back marker. So I had gone off the track a little bit. I ran a little bit wide, and I just let him by. I didn't want to really be fussing around with people and really trying to, as you can see, I run wide here again. Really got flustered. Losing a lot of grip in the tires now. But I didn't want to battle with that guy. I didn't want to battle with the back marker, because that's just going to be a cause for disaster. Yeah, I lost a few seconds, but he's a back marker. It's not like he's really got any position on me. He locked up. You can see the smoke. I managed to actually take this one without locking up. Later on, towards the end of the race, I really started to realize why I kept locking my front wheels. And I was braking, and then once I tried to take my foot off the pedal, you can see one dude spun out there. You can see the smoke. I'm going to move up into another place here. I'm going to move up back to third, move up into third. Sorry, losing track of this race. This is a very chaotic race for me. Lots of things happening that I didn't want to happen. But yeah, so through that chicane, or that hairpin, I was really trying to brake real hard, but then I would, oh, as you can see, the McLaren coming back up on me here, he bumps me and runs himself wide. But coming through that chicane, or, geez, that hairpin, I would lock up the tires because I was trying to steer even though my foot wasn't completely off the brake yet. So the car I was trying to do too much of what the car could actually do. I was asking too much of the car. I'm going to let the McLaren go by here. I didn't want to be battling with him. He's a very aggressive driver. He's actually run into me twice. That one you saw there was the second time he had actually bumped me. I don't know if he thought it was NASCAR, maybe where you can actually bump people and not get penalized. But I'm going to get a little bit of a slower exit. He took a wider line, which worked. But as you're going to see, we're going to cross crest, come down the backside of this. Going through the chicane, he takes it really nice through the beginning. So do I. And then he loses it because he takes too much to the curb. So I'm going to make it back up into third. As I said, very chaotic for me because I went up and down in places. That being said, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Because I have a feeling that if I had stayed in third and kept trying to battle, I probably would have been spun. Or I would have been taken out of the race just because I had a lot of very good drivers that I was racing against and a lot of aggressive drivers. So if I tried to be blocking them and all that, I feel like there would have been a big incident and I probably would have been out of the race. So I'm honestly happy things went the way they did. At this point, I'm really quite far ahead of the guy behind me, the McLaren there. I'm just trying to take as much time to really get a hold on the race as I can and just kind of keep my position until I run wide. And this is where things go down the toilet. Try to get back in the track car, just kept spinning on the grass. Lost a place. One of those guys was a back marker, so that's fine. This was on lap 17 of 18, so I was very upset. I was going to have a third place finish until I decided to, started braking a little bit later, tried to make the most of the corner, but I was also losing tire grip, so that was ultimately my fault. I didn't really judge the car well enough. I didn't really feel what the car was feeling. I tried to do too much. I asked too much of the car, and that's what happened. On lap 18, we are in 4th place, so we are going to finish 4th. Started in 5th, so we moved up a place. I gained a little bit of iRacing rating, or my iRating. Gained a little bit of safety rating. I did pick up a few incident points from running off the track and all that good stuff. But really, I can't complain. It was a good race. It was clean for the most part. Like, no, I didn't really get caught up in any major incidents. So I was happy about that. And honestly, it was a good result. I was hoping for third. I would have loved to have taken third. But there's only so much you can do. And that's a learning point. That's a teaching point. Feel the car. Like, don't try to push the car too hard, especially coming on the back end of the race. If you're not under pressure, you don't need to push. You don't really need to push. Yes, the person behind you is going to be pushing, but if you're not within, if they're not within a second of you, especially in an open wheel series, like a Formula series, there's no need for you to push to defend. If they're more than a second behind you, you're fine. And I'm starting to learn that through my mistakes. It's all a learning curve. You're going to have good races, you're going to have bad races. But racing is also always learning. Learning new things for the car, how the car handles, what you can do in terms of a setup. you know, in terms of learning the track, where the car gets the best grip on the track, cold spots, all that stuff is all learning. You're always going to be learning when you're driving, especially when you're racing. So as much as you might love to just jump into a race, take the time to learn the course. Learn how the car feels. Just do practice sessions. You don't need to jump into races all the time. Yes, you're going to get better at racing by racing, but at the same time, if you're not confident and you're not competent in the car and the course, there's no point in throwing yourself into the fire and, you know, getting burned. But as I said, learn, practice. Came out with a 4th place finish, so I can't really complain. As I said at the beginning of the video, if you like what you see, leave a like and a comment down below. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and help the channel grow, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, stay classy, folks, and we will see you in the next video. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.